Coach Dean Thomas talks about Greg Hardy's debut only this week on Must Love MMA. Susan Cingari here at American Top Team with the one and only Coach Dean Thomas. How are you today, Dean?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm good. So, Dean, talk to me a little bit about the fact that Greg Hardy is now going from the minor leagues, so to speak, to the major leagues. Is he ready for this?
Absolutely. I mean, Greg is a big-time player. I mean, he's used to the spotlight, the big time. Greg is a playmaker, so he's ready for this, and it happened so fast.
Yeah.
It just seemed like yesterday I was taking him to Fort Pierce to fight in Rise of the Warrior, and it's so funny because he's like a little kid. I mean, I remember that experience for him, and he was like in awe by that experience, and then like fight, he fought again, and now he's fighting in the UFC.
It's funny you mentioned that fight because I was there at that fight, and even though he was a raw talent at the time, I felt you could distinctly tell he had heavy hands, even at that point.
He has to be one of the best athletes in the world, and when you're dealing with a heavyweight that's that athletic, who's that powerful, has that much speed, I mean, it's like this clay that you could just mold into whatever you want. If you don't lock your hands, don't worry about it. And you're dealing with that raw talent, but he's also extremely coachable. He listens. I mean, for somebody with that experience who comes in here and just goes, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, coach, whatever you need. I'll do another one. I'll do it again. Can you show me that again? I mean, it's a gift. Yeah. It's a gift to work with him.
I always have to laugh when I interview him because he calls me yes, ma'am. I go, you make me feel too darn old.
Well, that's what he does. Like, I mean, me too. He's like, yes, sir. I'm thinking, like, am I that old? I guess I am.
How do you see the fight going down then? I mean, his opponent, Alan Crowder, has not really had a fight in almost a year.
Well, I mean, he still has more experience than Greg.
Yes.
You know, he's probably been training a lot longer than Greg. He's got more fights than Greg. He's been around longer than Greg. So he's got some experience, but I mean, I think the difference is really, it's always going to be just whoever gets that jump. Yeah. And there's not a lot of heavyweights that are going to be able to get that jump on Greg. I mean, he's just too quick.
Are we going to see you in another series with Dana White this year, Looking for a Fight?
Yes. We are actually filming in 2 weeks.
Cool.
We're filming in 2 weeks. Island Fights.
Oh.
Island Fights. We'll be at Island Fights in 2 weeks, and so we're doing that. And then I think they have another one scheduled sometime early next year. And that's the most fun thing I do. Thank you, Dana White. Thank you for putting me on the show.
How real is that for you? Because you look at some of the videos, some of the programming, it looks like you guys are just having a ball out there. So I want to be with you for this. Yeah. I need to come with you guys on this.
I'm blessed. Yeah. I really am, because I realize that this is a job that everybody wants. Every time I talk to somebody, they're like, man, how did you get that? How did you get that? And every other fighter wants to be in this position. I mean, you know, John Vellante, he took my spot on one episode, but he wants to be in this spot. Dennis Bermudez one day wrote me a message like, hey man, listen, if you ever don't do it, let me do it. I'm just like, I'm so blessed to be in a position to be able to hang out with the most powerful man in MMA. Mm-hmm. And then also with Matt Serra, who's a good friend of mine, who's extremely funny, and Dana White's extremely funny. So it's just a good time.
You know, getting back to Greg Hardy, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding his upcoming fight. How is he dealing with that? You know,
it's tough. There's a lot of negativity being thrown at him, and it's been thrown at him for years. And it'd be easy to say that he's used to it. I don't think it's something you're ever going to get used to. It's going to always surround him. But at the end of the day, we have to look forward. We have to be positive about it, because, you know, if you look at all of our history, like, nobody's perfect. So we just got to keep moving forward. And what happened in the past, you know, you got to show remorseful, but we got to look forward.
Speaking of look at our past, you and I have a funny photo from last time I was here.
I do remember that.
I just want to tell our viewers how good you make me look.
Yeah.
It's all about him, you know. It's not really about me.
It's not me.
Standing next to him makes me look really good.
No, it's not me.
Yes, it is. BJJ Online, what's going on with that?
Oh yeah, so I have a new project. Growing up in MMA, you know, I've been doing it more than half my life, but I've always considered myself a jiu-jitsu guy. And I realized that as the game evolved and changed, and as the maturity of MMA became, like, jiu-jitsu just kind of fell off a little bit. And I realized that it was because the sport of jiu-jitsu kind of went one way, MMA jiu-jitsu went another way, self-defense went another way, and it was like this big void. And me and my buddy Kenny Kim from Atlanta, Georgia, he's a sport jiu-jitsu guy. and we say, man, we need to bring it back together. So we've taken all of our information and knowledge that we have of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and we're bringing it back together. You know, because sport Jiu-Jitsu is not going to work in MMA. MMA style, it's not going to work in sport. So we've put together this program, trainbjjonline.com, where we're going to teach it. So if you're an MMA guy, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that you can use for MMA.
Right.
And if you're a sport guy, Jiu-Jitsu that you can use for sport. And if you're a regular guy that just wants to not get beat up in the street.
But what about a regular girl?
Or a girl who just doesn't want to get beat up in the street. Like you're not gonna berimbolo somebody in the street. So we're trying to bring it back so that it's one again. It's one, and we can understand the differences. So trainbjjonline.com. That's it.
Anything else you want to add before we go today?
No. Listen, Susan. You know I love you. I just want to thank you. Listen, no, I'm not lying. Listen, I love Susan Cingari. I want to thank you for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to sit next to you and chop it up. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you more. All right, Must Love MMA fans, if you like this story, don't forget to leave a link and a comment below and help my boy here, Coach Dean, out and share this video, will you please?